Tonight, seismic testing for oil and gas in the Great Australian Bight given the go-ahead. And lights, camera, action. Port Lincoln Cinema back in business.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Seismic testing for oil and gas in the Great Australian Bight has been given the green light by the National Petroleum Regulator. But now questions are being raised about the surveys being undertaken amid stringent environmental regulations.
Seismic surveys will go ahead in the Great Australian Bight. Industry regulator NOPSEMA this week approved the application from exploration company PGS Australia to undertake the offshore testing later this year.
This is another exercise in building our knowledge of the oil and gas resources that may lie beneath the Great Australian Bight. So it is an important step.
The survey area covers more than 30,000 square kilometres off the Eyre Peninsula and Kangaroo Island coasts, leaving local fisheries like the Tuna Association concerned about migration impacts.
The gun blasts that it involves, and this is a fish of habit. And if they know that that's going to happen or think it's going to happen, then they don't go to that area. It's as simple as that.
There are doubts the testing will even take place, given the strict environmental restrictions enforced by NOPSEMA to approve the application.
They had no choice but to make the decision, but to their great credit, there's very rigid conditions, and I would doubt whether the survey will go ahead under those conditions.
But the industry assures it can be done.
We have seen considerable seismic shot in the Great Australian Bight, including in the last 4 or 5 years. So we know it can be done safely and sustainably, and we're committed to doing that.
Casey Trelaw, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The New South Wales Labor Party has committed to setting up a water inquiry if it wins the March state election. Opposition leader Michael Daly says the investigation would have all the powers of a royal commission.
Hearing Broken Hill's concerns and taking action.
I came out here to listen to the locals because the locals are always the experts in any given community.
At a public meeting last night, Mr Daly spoke to a number of Silver City residents about what matters to them this state election. The health of the Darling River and the alleged mismanagement of the Murray-Darling River system a major talking point. With locals fed up that ministers keep blaming the drought, Labor made a big promise if elected.
I'll move quickly to set up a special commission of inquiry with all the powers of a royal commission, powers to compel witnesses to come and give evidence. We'll leave no stone unturned, there'll be no secrets, and no one will get off scot-free. If the wrong thing has been done, we'll get to the bottom of it, but more importantly, we'll find out what we can do to restore flows here. And
Mr Daly has also thrown down the gauntlet to the Premier and Deputy Premier, asking why Broken Hill ever needed to be put on pipeline water.
The people of this area have been telling us for years that that pipeline has been part of a secret conspiracy by the Nationals and Liberals to drain the Menindee Lakes dry. I want Gladys Berejiklian and John Barilaro to come here to Broken Hill and to Menindee and say that that's wrong.
The New South Wales state election will be held on March 23rd. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Whyalla Early Childhood Centre is dealing with an outbreak of salmonella poisoning. South Australia Health and Whyalla Council say 7 children aged under 4 have been infected at the unnamed centre, with 1 hospitalised due to the condition. Both agencies are working together to identify the cause of the localised outbreak. In the meantime, anyone with symptoms such as diarrhoea and vomiting are being urged to remain at home until they have been symptom-free for 24 hours. Whyalla Police will up their patrols in the Westland Shopping Centre in a bid to reduce youth antisocial behaviour. It follows a meeting between police, centre management and other stakeholders on Wednesday. Police say they'll also engage with youth through the Community Constable program and will consider providing other activities for the remainder of school holidays. Inspector Mark Hubbard says he believes the issue can be addressed.
You can expect to see police, but we're here to engage with the young people as much as it is to check that everyone's okay.
I think with some good engagement with the community, we can get through this issue and look at solving this antisocial behaviour. Police are reassuring residents the centre remains a safe place.
The Royal Automobile Association of South Australia is calling for a transport plan to cater for the expansion of Whyala's steelworks and increase population numbers. It's proposing a duplicate Augusta highway to manage the extra heavy vehicles expected.
December's announcement of the future of the Whyala Steelworks set tongues wagging. On top of a potential new steelworks, there was predictions our population will skyrocket to 80,000. Also expected to move upwards is the amount of traffic moving in and out of the city.
It's really important that we think about this now before trying to apply any quick fix measures retrospectively.
The RAA wants a review of the transport infrastructure that connects us to the nation. Measures include a full duplication of the Augusta Highway between Port Augusta and Port Wakefield, and more overtaking lanes between Port Augusta and Whyala. They're also calling for extra traffic lights in Whyala itself, along with a heavy vehicle bypass.
To make sure the roads can serve the increase in population and allow residents, visitors and the freight industry to move around safely and efficiently.
The previous state government had developed a similar plan titled Two Wells to Whyala. It's something the local Chamber of Commerce believes should be a template.
That is maybe something we might need to revisit and see what that has to hold for us.
Mr Hay is urging those in power to be a driver, not a passenger, in developing these plans.
We need to start looking at these things now, rather than it sit on our doorstep, it happens, and we're not in a position to move with it.
John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Port Augusta crane company has secured a 5-year contract extension to continue operations in the Cooper Basin with oil and gas giant Santos. Garth Burley has the details.
It's Australia's largest onshore oil and gas mine, and local company Max Cranes is certainly leaving their mark on the Cooper Basin. The $47 million deal follows on from an original contract 3 years ago and means the company will continue crane operations until 2024. The Cooper Basin spans across the South Australia and Queensland borders, with the main production facility at Moomba in the northeast of the state. Santos says the local crane company's reliability and exceptional safety record made them a strong contender for the long-term contract. Max Cranes currently employ 120 people across the state, with 27 involved in the operations at Moomba. The new deal means even more workers might join the team. The announcement comes just months after the company unveiled their new 1,200-tonne Liebherr crane, worth over $13 million. It's the largest telescopic crane in the Southern Hemisphere and is poised to play a key role in the development of a number of renewable energy projects across the state. Max Cranes say they one day hope to be the sole supplier for Santos in the Cooper Basin project.
Still to come tonight, Port Pirie Council's new idea to give councillors more responsibility, and Port Lincoln Cinema back in business after threats of closure. Welcome back. The Port Pirie Regional Council may soon function like the state and federal governments. Mayor Leon Stephens is endorsing the idea of elected members taking on responsibilities similar to that of cabinet ministers.
Port Pirie's council is taking note from the political playbook of state and federal governments. Under a proposed new scheme supported by Mayor Leon Stephens, councillors will be appointed to specialise roles equating to their merits and skill sets.
So when we were approaching this new council, we thought we've got so much experience in the room. You know, when you look around...
Just like in Parliament, councillors will adopt formalised roles in particular fields and will operate in a similar fashion to that of ministers.
We have some great people within our group that are actually, well connected to politicians, well connected to a lot of things, and we don't use that skill sets. We're about to do that.
It's a creative approach of utilising the skills that each individual brings to council. For example, if someone had a background in teaching, they would now play an active role with local schools and higher education.
It'll be a high level engagement side of thing, much more than we would normally see inside the chamber.
It's hoped that it will encourage councillors to play a more active role in the community and operate in a more organised structure when handling council projects.
As the directors are actually reporting on a particular project and we need some inside information into that, these people will be brought in to talk directly to the directors.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Lincoln's restaurant, The Lion and Label, has now received not one but two prestigious chef hats. The accolade is awarded by the Australian Good Food Guide, with the anonymous judges selecting the country's top culinary destinations. The restaurant first received a chef hat after being open for just 1 month last year. 12 months on, and the team is proud to be recognised again for serving premium local produce.
It's a nice little award to retain this year. I know there are a few restaurants around the country that were unfortunate enough not to retain theirs, so for us to keep ours it's a credit to the whole team involved.
The restaurant is one of 377 selected across the country this year. Over $50,000 worth of funding will help kickstart a new program in Port Augusta aimed at supporting female victims of domestic violence. It's hoped the service will help offer victims a strong support network, which is said to be missing in many communities.
The statistics are frightening.
Aboriginal women are 32 times more likely to be suffering from family and domestic violence.
Domestic violence is a sad and prevalent reality in many Indigenous communities across the country. In Port Augusta, a new program is opening its doors to victims.
To support these family and domestic violence counselling program for Aboriginal women.
It will be delivered by KWY, who specialise in family and domestic violence, helping over 700 men and 55 families in their Adelaide program. It's off the ground through $56,000 of funding from the ANZ and state government.
The community group itself had identified a really important issue that they felt needed further support.
It will operate 3 days a week, running group and individual counselling sessions, as well as painting and cooking activities. Similar to initiatives like the Parents Next program, their goal is to find employment for all participants.
So we work with families with children under 6 and get them work ready, get them prepared on their journey.
They're hoping the new Port Augusta program will be as successful as their metropolitan efforts.
We're growing our business here and we know it's actually going to benefit.
If you or anyone you know needs help, please call 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737-732. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The new Broken Hill YMCA Wellness Centre will open its doors this weekend after undergoing a $5 million redevelopment. The facility has many new features, including a gym, cafe, dedicated youth hub, as well as the old favourite squash courts. 17 new jobs are expected to be created in its first 12 months of operation. It's open from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Still in Broken Hill, and the Silver City and other Far West communities say they're feeling left out of the state government's air conditioning rebate scheme. Under the scheme, residents can claim a rebate for air conditioning units installed by government-approved providers. However, in towns like Broken Hill, Wilcannia and Ivanhoe, there's currently no installers on the list. The scheme is only open for a limited time, raising concerns that some residents may never have an approved installer in their area before it ends. Broken Hill Police are warning drivers to be cautious of wildlife in residential areas. As temperatures soar across the Silver City, increasing numbers of kangaroos and emus are wandering the streets in search of food and water. Police say drivers should slow down when approaching the animals, as they can be easily startled. If travelling on a highway, officers say it's best not to swerve if an animal comes onto the road, as that increases the risk of losing control of a vehicle. 1 in every 41 casualties on country roads involve a vehicle hitting an animal. Port Lincoln's Heritage Cinema has been given a lifeline thanks to a local family purchasing the business. And the reopening has come just in time for children to enjoy for the remainder of the school holidays.
It was the sad news that shocked the Port Lincoln community last year, that the cinema doors would close one last time. It left local Angela Perrin with hope someone would come to the rescue and buy the business.
When we kind of didn't hear about anything happening, I just couldn't imagine my kids growing up in a town without a cinema. So I spoke to my family and they agreed that we could give it a go.
And since the exciting reopening earlier this month, it's turned into quite the family affair.
My brother and I kind of went into the business together, but my mum's over from Perth helping out, and my kids are here every day, and so it's turned into a real family, adventure.
With plenty of blockbuster movies on show, the local kids and tourists in town couldn't be happier.
I like the cinema and I like the new movies that are coming out. Really nice because I thought it was going to close and then a lot of people would have not much to do on the weekend.
Now called the Lincoln Cinema, the family have grand plans to give the historic building a facelift.
We only had about 2 days to turn the business over, and so things haven't changed very much at the moment, but obviously we're hoping to close down in February and do a bit of a refurb and start again.
If you want to check out the latest movies on the silver screen, head to the Lincoln Cinema Facebook page or grab a flyer inside. Casey Trelaw, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Kadina Hockey Club's new turf pitches ready to go, and we'll have a preview of the weekend's cricket action. Welcome back. Kadina Hockey Club is set to receive more than a $1 million upgrade to help it reach regulated standards. The rollout of new synthetic turf will help even out the playing field for local athletes.
With 6,050 square metres of new synthetic lawn, one could say that Kadina is rolling out the green carpet for the Copper Coast's hockey enthusiasts.
Funding is very hard to get for minority sport, but fortunately with the help of the council and the support of the Hockey Association, we've been able to come up with some funding.
Sourcing the funds has been a task for the group, forced to seek approval from council and apply for grants on both a state and federal level. It's taken them more than 15 years to fulfil their dream.
Also, council sold some council land, which they're going to donate the money to us.
Locals would have to drive an hour and a half to Port Piries Field or suffer a lengthy trip to Adelaide just to play on a turf that's up to standard.
Going to further their hockey career, if you like, to Adelaide. In this particular case, if we've got a better surface there, we're probably going to get even more interest.
For many of the younger players, an upgraded field will be game-changing. The synthetic lawn will ensure that the juniors will be able to play on a court up to standard. For the council, it means that water bills will be a bit lower and, more importantly, for the players, less grass stains on the clothes.
When it comes to important, it's not just the Kadina Hockey Club, it's for the whole York Peninsula.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Time now for a look at what will happen with the bat and ball this week. Here's cricket tips.
Yeah, g'day and welcome to this week's round of cricket tips for Port Augusta. This week we see Corn take on West Augusta in Corn. West are currently sitting at the bottom of the table, but if they win this match they could make their way back into the finals contention. But unfortunately I can't see West beating Corn in Corn. The other match sees the top side, South Augusta, take on Central Stirling. South, they're not top, I think they've got good batters, good bowlers, a young side, a lot of belief. I reckon they will beat Central Stirling, so there are my 2 winners for this week, Corn and South Augusta.
Welcome back to Wyler Cricket. This weekend on Saturday sees the final of the 2020 series. Rapina and Central be the dominant teams, both beating South and North, and Central beating Rapina in the round games. Rapina have a big hitting top order and some experienced middle order batsmen, and welcome back Nathan Van Ekeren from his outbacks duties. Central will rely on their big hitters Brad Smith, Daniel Collison and Scott Collison, and be looking for Josh Bartell to take some early wickets. My tip, Rapina in a close one. Sunday we'll see a make-up game between North Wyler and Central Wyler from a washout before Christmas. Central Wyler are in good form where North Wyler have been struggling in the back half of the 2018 season. My tip, Central Wyler.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. Last weekend the Henderson Shield first and second 11 both had wins on both Saturday and Sunday, and the Horgan Shield had 2 huge wins as well. Fantastic effort by the Port Lincoln sides. This weekend sees T20 cricket at Ravendale from 9 a.m. and last game at 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Southern Air South, the champions of South Australia, will be looking to go back and make it 6 in a row in Port Lincoln. Tasmans will be up there with a few good players that really suit this format. Charlton as well, got some players that are really dynamic in this format as too, but SES should be the team to beat in this competition, but it'll be a really good day. Get on down to Ravendale from 9 a.m. in the morning.
Cricket returns back to Broken Hill this weekend after having an extended break over the Christmas period, and it is a double header at the Alma Oval for round 11 for the last of the 2020 format here in Broken Hill. The first one to be taken off at the Alma Oval, with South taking on North. This is meant to be a good game. South have come in this with a couple of wins underneath their belt and looking strong, but North are coming in looking even stronger. They've come in 8-0, and I think that with the batting lineup that North have, with Hack, Howard and then the new recruit of Timothy Hunter, I think they're going to be hard to beat. And the second game at the Alma Oval will see Central take on West. With Central coming in with a bit of form in the last couple of rounds, I reckon they'll be the red hot favourites to come in to win this game. West, they've been struggling over the last couple of weeks, and I reckon they'll need to win this one to keep in good form. My tip for this game will be Central just by the skin of their teeth, I reckon.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the weekend weather details. Welcome back. Let's take a look at what's happening with the weather. Here's Britt Aylen.
Thanks, Louise. Well, it's been a bit of a stormy day along the Gulf. Port Augusta and Port Pirie both reaching a top of 32 degrees, Whyalla 27, Port Lincoln partly cloudy and 25, Broken Hill 43. On the satellite, clouds stretching across the west and south of the state today, with a low pressure trough bringing thunderstorms and the odd shower. A cold front will move across the Gulf this evening. Looking to the waters now, northeasterly winds at up to 20 knots, with swells to 2 metres tomorrow, and the sun will rise at 6:32 a.m. with sunset at 8:41. It'll be a mostly fine day across the Gulf, Port Augusta with some possible showers and a top of 34, 35 the top for Broken Hill and Port Pirie, Whyalla mostly sunny and 29, Woodna and Kadina both 32, with a top of 25 degrees for Port Lincoln, Coffin Bay and Cleve. To the 4-day forecast now, Port Lincoln ending the week on a fine note, 26 on Sunday, a top of 30 degrees expected on Monday ahead of a sunny day on Tuesday. Cleve fine through the weekend and the start of next week, warming up on Tuesday with a top of 38 expected. Possible showers in Woodna on Sunday, a top of 34, and it'll be back up to 40 degrees on Monday. Whyalla fine on Sunday, 30 degrees, with temperatures beginning to mount at the start of next week, back up to 39 on Tuesday. Port Augusta on Sunday, mostly sunny with a top of 36, 41 on Monday, Tuesday 44 degrees. Kadina, a partly cloudy weekend, but sunny days ahead, warming up to 37 on Monday. Port Pirie, fine and 35 on Sunday, 39 the top on Monday, a hot one on Tuesday, sunny and 42. Possible showers for Clare on Sunday, 31 degrees, heating up at the start of next week. And a fine few days ahead for Broken Hill, Sunday expecting a top of 36 degrees, Monday 39, Tuesday 41. That's all for today's weather. With some fine days ahead, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And Louise, it's back to you.
Thanks for that, Britt. Looks like a lovely weekend ahead. And that's your local news for this Friday evening. We thank you for your company. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening.